SALT was an economic civil war. It literally restructured the economy to help red states at the cost of blue states. That's exactly what it did. It was a diabolical political maneuver. SALT encourages high-income New Yorkers to move to other states, and if your political goal is to help Republican states and hurt Democratic states, this is exactly the way they do it.
Diabolical. You heard him right. That's New York Governor Andrew Cuomo blaming SALT, a cap on state and local tax deductions at $10,000 that went into place under Trump's tax cuts, for pushing some of his state's highest earners into states like Florida and Texas, which have no income tax. But is the new federal tax law really to blame? Let's ask Americans for Tax Reform President Grover Norquist. Well, Grover, first, it was the first time I ever heard Andrew Cuomo actually say that he needed rich people, that rich people, the top 5%, pay 63% of income taxes, but he blames the Fed's new law, not his own state taxes, for the problem.
Look, two things. All they have to do to solve this problem is reduce state taxes, and he's the governor. He could reduce New York state taxes, and New York City could reduce the property taxes and income taxes there, and there's no problem. So, step one, they can't continue their high tax policies in the future. But what he said was, we've started a war. No, we ended a war. For the last 50 years, high-tax states like New York have been looting the rest of the country and getting subsidies in the form of these tax loopholes that other states were paying. Only the really expensive income tax, high property tax states were benefiting tremendously from state and local tax deductibility up to, no cap at all. So we ended a civil war. Now all 50 states play on the same flat playing field, and he's playing stupidly. And he can change that tomorrow.
Grover, it's Carol Roth, and I'm from the very high-tax state of Illinois, who does not do a very good job of getting a return on every dollar that it sends to the federal government. We are actually the worst out of all of them. But it does seem like getting rid of the SALT cap has some bipartisan support. No surprise, since it affects blue states. Do you imagine it's something that could be on the table to be changed perhaps this year? And if so, do you think that could be a clean change, or are we going to get some sort of let's make a deal bargaining type of scenario?
I don't expect this to change at all. One, to do so is a significant tax reduction, almost all of which goes to the top 1%. The Democrats in the House are going to pass this. There are a handful of districts that are affected, a handful of states that are affected. You've got to have a broader level of support than to end this special loophole for rich people living in high-tax states and expensive cities, when it can all be solved by mayors being competent and governors being honest with their citizens.
So, Grover, it's Rick Unger. Good to see you, buddy.
Hey, good to see you.
So, all right, I'm going to say this. I do think the governor goes a little bit far, I have to say. There's a lot more taxes here that would drive people out of the state than just the SALT deduction going away. That said, as somebody who pays a big price by losing the SALT deductions because of where I own property, you can't be somebody who supported the loss of that deduction. You must be rooting for it to return.
No, I'm in favor of getting rid of the state and local tax deductibility total, not just after $10,000, and use that to take down the rates for everybody. We can take the rates down for all Americans, and that reduces some of the challenges and pressures that Cuomo had. I look forward to his support in our next round of rate reduction.
Yeah, that's going to happen.
Hey, Grover, John Layfield here. Jerry Baker, for his show Wall Street Week at Large, airing this Friday on Fox Business, interviewed former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. I want to get your comments on what Chris Christie had to say. Here's the governor.
For years, these high-tax states got kind of bailed out by the federal government by this deduction, and now they're no longer getting it. What should be done?
Here's the problem with what's happened in New Jersey and New York. In light of these changes, they've raised taxes. So in New Jersey, they just raised taxes again on income. They raised taxes on sales. They raised taxes on a whole. They're taxing Uber now. They're taxing Airbnb.
It's going to drive away business.
They are driving away business, and New Jersey is now the #1 state, according to United Van Lines, for people who are moving out and not coming back.
Grover, I'm giving you a softball here. So what are your thoughts on what the former governor had to say?
Well, Governor Christie is correct. This is a challenge. New York, New Jersey, a number of states have way overspent and overtaxed. They need to bring rates down on high-income people. The challenge is you've got 2,500 Democrats running for president, and they're all screaming for blood. How do normal governors trying to run their states explain the need to reduce taxes for all New Yorkers, particularly the very heavily taxed high-income New Yorkers, when screaming in their ears the guy from Vermont saying this is fun, let's do more of this?
Is it this what it's all about at the end of the day, though, Grover, that Democrats believe that higher taxes will help solve this problem of income inequality? I think all U.S. citizens want people to have a good job, a good home, good health care. But is increasing taxes and redistribution the best way to close that gap?
Well, you could reduce income inequality in New York by having fewer rich people in New York. They move out, and then everybody's sort
That's
of
what's happening.
closer together. The French Revolution had similar effects. The reason they like high taxes on the rich is not that they raise that much money. It's what justifies the high taxes on the middle class. Because you say to voters, well, we're cutting off 2 of your fingers, but that guy over there, you know, he's really getting it. The Kennedy kids are paying a lot, so you don't mind paying more. That's the difference between Denmark and us, Sweden and us. Not how they tax the rich. It's how heavily they tax the middle class with things like the 20% value-added tax, plus higher income taxes on the median income Danes, Finns, Swedes, Norwegians compared to the United States. The high tax rates is legerdemain. It's this what magicians do to fool you. Look at this. While they're picking the pockets of the middle class with the other hand.
Oh, I love it.
Hopefully, we can get them to knock off both of these things.
It's a great analogy. By the way, if you really want income equality, go to Cuba. Everybody's poor. They are all equal. That is what socialism is all about. Grover, great to see you. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Take it easy.
Please come again.